PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hi guys, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the good people that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be me and him, the me being Kim Brown.
And the him being TC Kirkham. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Finally starting to get back things into regular beat of pattern here. Yep. We got all our shows done except Catastrophe Vortex this week. And Front Row 5 and 10 is here, and I actually got to do the last two. Mm-hmm. So she gets to do this week, and she also gets to pick next week.
I do?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Well, you have a whole list.
Yes, I have a whole list.
So we'll give you that later. We'd love to hear it. Guys, we would love to have you participate. If you send us an idea for a list and we pick it up, you're going to win a prize. Yep. And we hope that you will do that. Write to us at frontrow@PNRNetworks.com or subjectcinema at PNRNetworks.com and let us know. We're always on the lookout for fun topics to do countdowns on.
Yep.
And this week, Kim's pick. Yes. The top 10 fourth wall breaks in media.
Yes, in media. Because I went all over the place.
I actually limited mine mostly to TV and movies, but there's a few.
I'm sure
there are.
Yeah. Obviously, everybody out there knows what a fourth wall break is if you're listening to this show. Mm-hmm. It's the whole idea that all of a sudden something will happen in a movie, a TV show, or whatever, where the character just kind of goes, okay, well, we know you're there.
Yeah.
They, whether it's a look or something that's said, mine go all over the place, but there's a lot of ways you can go with this, and I think it goes without saying there's going to be spoilers in this.
Yeah, I think so, too. A few of them.
Yep.
Although I haven't got anything terribly current, so.
Okay.
So.
Since I came up with the idea, that means you get to go first.
I have 4 runners-up, and they're just, because I had so many, I just wanted to mention these.
You are such an overachiever.
Well, no, I just had, I kept thinking of other things. And
no, that's cool. I'm not saying that's a
bad
bad
thing.
These 4
are 2 particulars and 2 non-particulars. The 2 particulars, of course, the granddaddy of the fourth walls that everybody in this generation knows. Mm-hmm. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller talks to the camera regularly throughout the film, making comments to the viewers. He's very much aware that this is not a movie per se as it is a presentation. Mm-hmm. Also, one that completely skeeved you out, but that is absolutely hilarious. And it doesn't start off as a fourth wall break, but as it goes on, he looks directly at the camera. He's well aware of what this is. Jay's hilarious Buffalo Bob imitation from Clerks 2. Right to the lipstick and the whole thing, right to the same song.
Rain bleach.
The other 2 are more people than anything. The Marx Brothers, who were experts at fourth wall break, especially Groucho, but everybody occasionally.
Yeah.
Groucho always got in some. And Johnny Carson. Carson was the master of the eye take. And he, of course, it's a talk show, so it's a little bit different. You're going to expect it. But if a guest makes a rather odd comment, instead of looking at the audience, at the guest or whatever, or the guest told him, I remember him talking with Michael Landon once. And Michael told him, I want you to spell something for me. I want you to do this and stick out your neck and spell I met. So Carson, and do it in a funny voice. And so Carson sticks out his neck and he spells I met. Landon's sitting there laughing. The audience is laughing because he just said I am E.T. This was when E.T. was out. And Carson just subtly turned his eyes to the camera with this I fell for him again look on his face, as if to acknowledge that Carson was a master. Okay, now to the actual top 10. Number 10. Some movies do fourth wall breaks in such a way that they become actually part of the plot.
Okay.
In some ways. And that is there's a couple of big evidential spots on this, 3 of them actually. From the 2005 musical version of The Producers. We have a scene where Ula and Max and Leo are talking, and Max leaves the scene, and Ula suddenly, decides she wants to cozy up to Leo, and so he starts edging over, and she looks over and she says, "Why Bloom go so far, camera right?" And I'm like, okay. And we both cracked up when we first saw that. Later on, as Nathan Lane is delivering a line to Roger DeVries about seeing him move his lips with the characters on stage, you see Gary Beach moving his lips to Nathan Lane's lines. Not quite a full fourth wall break, but definitely an acknowledgement that it's a script. And, of course, the end sequences of this kind of a movie with the whole, go home, get out of here, it's over, go away, from Mel Brooks and company at the end of the movie. It's a funny... the Ula thing cracked both of us up. We were like, what the hell, when we saw it? Because they didn't do that in the original.
No, but they gave Ula a much bigger part in this musical.
One. Yeah.
And that actually also occurs in the stage show.
Yeah.
Where she says, why Bloom move so far stage right or something like that. That's a great
Number
choice.
10, The Producers.
That's an excellent way to kick off your list. My number 10 is a really weird fourth wall break, but it's hilarious because it's so unexpected. And it's from a video game, of all places.
Okay.
My fourth wall break is from the Sega classic. I can't believe I just said that, but
Sega!
Call it a classic is another way to say, holy crap, I'm old. The Sega classic game Sonic the Hedgehog.
Had to be. It's practically the only thing she played on end for hours and hours. Yeah.
You're just pissed because I was good at it.
Oh, no, I loved watching you do it, and I loved watching it when you lost your rings. You got so frustrated. It was so funny.
Oh, yes. Screaming,
we could have made a ton of
swearing.
money on America's Funniest Home Videos.
So anyway, the fourth wall break occurs when you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Yeah, that is funny, yeah.
If you just kind of, if you have to take a breather because your thumbs hurt, or you have to, take a drink or whatever, and you don't pause the game, you just let it sit there. After a while, Sonic gets this annoyed look on his face.
It's about 15 seconds, I think, yeah.
He gets this annoyed look on his face, and he's looking at you. And he starts tapping his feet, and he's folding his arms, and then he'll lie down and kind of stare at you.
I didn't see him do that, but I saw the other, yeah.
Yeah, and he'll stare at you like, are you ever going to play this game again? It's just the whole idea of, impatient much, you little blue mammal? It's just really, really funny. And it's so unexpected. The first time it happens, you're like, what? Did that? Okay. I think the video game is scolding me. All right, that's different. So my number 10 is Sonic the Hedgehog, because it's just, like I said, it's hilarious. The first time it happened, it freaked me out. So
I totally forgot about that. That's funny as hell, yeah. My number 9 was a movie that didn't get seen by enough people. I mean, it's been seen on cable, I'm sure, but when it was the theater, it was only a modest hit. Mm-hmm. And the whole movie is a fourth wall break. It's the 1992 cop comedy Cuffs, starring Christian Slater as George Cuffs, the ne'er-do-well brother of a private police force gentleman, because apparently they had private police forces in San Francisco in 1992. Cuff's character goes around commenting regularly to the camera about the goings-on in the film. There's one scene in particular that's hilarious because here he is talking to the camera directly about what's happening to him right now. And right at that particular moment, he's bound and gagged and waiting for a bomb to blow up. I was on the floor. Christian Slater is so good anyway back then. And that whole fourth wall break throughout the whole movie. The only one that isn't so much the fourth wall is at the end where the baby has been born. Mm-hmm. It's really funny, and if you've never seen it, you should, but it's like, okay. That's kind of creepy in places too, but it is funny, and if you've never seen it, check it out. 1992's Cuffs with Christian Slater as George Cuffs.
Okay. Number 9 on my list is a film that we've both seen thanks to Mystery Science Theater 3000 that TC fell in love with to the point where he actually went and bought an unmisted copy of it just to have it because he thought the movie was so great. It's the story of everybody's favorite Euro thief / I
didn't even think of this.
Homicidal maniac. Diabolic or Danger Diabolic.
Love the score. If anybody has a copy of the soundtrack, I'd love a copy because they charge $350 for a CD.
Mm-hmm. So, the end of the film has Diabolic pulling off this gold heist. Things go terribly wrong, and in the process of trying to melt the gold and having it, pouring it into these molds and stuff like that, the cops show up, there's gunfire, stuff goes wrong, and he winds up encased.
It explodes the gold, and
he winds up, he's wearing this suit that will protect him from the heat, but the gold there's an explosion, and he's doused in molten gold, so he's basically frozen as a statue covered in gold. Now, as far as the police are concerned, they think he's dead. They can, you can see a portion of his face and stuff like that. His girlfriend, Eva, who is another reason TC likes this movie.
I loved Marissa Mell. She was awesome.
Yep. No, I don't blame you. She was an incredibly amazing lady, and in that movie, she is ridiculously hot.
Yes, she is.
She is mourning his loss because he may be a murderous sociopath, but he's her murderous sociopath.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, prostrate, like kneeling down in front of him and touching his leg and, oh, I'm so sad and stuff like that. But she looks up at him, and at one point she looks up at him and he looks down at her and winks, getting her the message he's still alive. The police lead her out. She doesn't let on that he's still alive. The police think that everything's all wrapped up and it's all over but the shouting. He looks up, looks directly into the camera, and winks at the audience. And then the lights go out and you hear him laugh, and that's the end of the movie.
This was a sequel bumper for a sequel that never happened.
It's very it's very obvious that the wink is supposed to be like, "Don't worry, folks, you'll see me again."
I'll be back at the end of Masters of the Universe, which didn't happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know how you're gonna get out of there, and
he's probably got some kind of a gold melter in his belt that they don't know about or something. Who knows?
He can't move. How's he?
No, they think he can't move. Well, that doesn't mean he can't slowly learn how to do it.
So my number 5 is that wink to the audience from Diabolic.
I didn't even think of that. That's good. My number 8, I couldn't choose any single one, so I chose all of them. My number 8 is practically every single Mel Brooks movie ever made. There are fourth wall breaks in I've not seen a couple of them. I've never seen High Anxiety. I've never seen To Have and Have Not. Is that what it is?
To Be or Not to Be.
To Be or Not to Be. And
which is a remake, by the way.
Yeah, but everything I've ever seen has some sort of fourth wall break, and there's dozens in Spaceballs. The end of Blazing Saddles, which Kim hates so much, where the action just stops because they end up going into a sound studio where something else is being filmed. That's a riot. Harvey Korman's constant takes at the camera whenever he's in Blazing Saddles. The Igor talking back and forth to the audience occasionally in Young Frankenstein. There's a number of them in History of the World too. Mel is and Robin Hood Men in Tights had 2 or 3
The
of them.
opening, it does, definitely.
He is a master at this, and I'm like, I'm. And I mean, obviously, he did it in The Producers. Then he didn't even direct that; he wrote it, but Susan Stroman directed it. It's funny, and they're except for Kim, she doesn't like the end of Blazing Saddles, but the rest of it, I mean, the first time I saw Blazing Saddles, I was going, "What the hell?" And then I just started laughing and couldn't stop because it was just 10 minutes of this. Mel Brooks, it depends on being able to talk to the audience and make fun of the movie industry around him, and that's what makes Mel's movies so much fun.
Right.
Number 8, Mel Brooks movies, pretty much all of them.
Okay. Number 8 on my list is the first TV show on my list. I actually don't know.
I have a TV show coming up too.
It's a show that it's had its share of fourth wall breaks, but this is the one that I absolutely loved. From my favorite show of all time, Supernatural.
Yay.
Shut up.
Go on.
I'm just letting you know this is not, don't poke that bear.
Poke.
From the season 10 episode 5 episode, which is called Fan Fiction.
Even I think, is this the Twilight thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No, that was Live Free or Die Hard, wasn't it?
Yeah. Fan fiction, basically, what the plot of fan fiction is that in the Supernatural universe, they have found out in previous seasons that there are books about Sam and Dean's adventures written by this one author, who actually turns out to be God, but we won't go there. The thing is that these books have a cult following, and this one school, the drama club at this school, has put on... Oh,
yeah, you told me about that.
Has put on a musical written by the students about the Winchester's adventures. And Sam's kind of like, I don't get any of this. Dean is completely freaked. Because there's been a disappearance at the school, and that's how they find out about this play. They're watching the play being practiced. The person playing Dean is a girl. The person playing Castiel is also a girl. And they are also a couple in real life. The girl directing the play makes a comment to Dean about how you can't have subtext without sex, hinting at the whole Destiel thing. And Dean / Jensen Ackles, I swear, looks directly into the camera with this look like, really? I mean, he doesn't have to say it. It's just all over his face. And I laughed so hard I was in pain. It was just so damn funny. You could just hear that slight tipping and then the slight crash of the fourth wall coming down. So my number 8, Supernatural, the episode Fan Fiction. Gotta love it.
My number 7 is a TV show. I haven't my first TV show. There's 2 or 3 on the list. And I was really kind of uncomfortable with the things that they did occasionally. Not uncomfortable is not the right word. I didn't quite get it. I wasn't hip yet, even though I was 20 or so. I wasn't yet into film, and I wasn't yet really discovered my love for how big behind-the-scenes stuff went on, and so on and so forth.
Right.
You learn quick when you watch practically anything produced by the British animation company known as Cosgrove Hall, and in particular Danger Mouse, which ran from 1983 to 1990 on the original one, and the new one is at 2 seasons. I don't know if there's going to be a third.
That show.
There are so many fourth wall breaks in this show. It's scary. They go off the thing that killed me. One of them, and I've forgotten which exact episode it is. They're chasing whoever the bad guy is, or whatever the bad guy is, or something, around in the Mark V, and suddenly the guy makes a huge swerve, and they go off the edge of the film. Mm-hmm. And you literally see Danger Mouse climb up the spokes of the film, and then you hear this voice off camera going, get the repair ready, tell us any, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Once Upon a Time Slip. Another one that is full of fourth wall breaks because they're basically acknowledging the ridiculousness of the episode. And the same with Play It Again, Wolfgang. Mm-hmm. They're both completely surreal and with a number of nods to the audience. And if you've never seen Danger Mouse, for Pete's sake, the entire series is available on Netflix. Pick a weekend and watch it. It's one of the funniest series ever created.
Don't blame us if you get the hiccups from laughing too hard, though.
The original's great. The new one is actually pretty good. And I haven't seen I haven't seen the second season at all, and I've only seen about half the first season, but it's great. Fourth wall breaks, I think this takes the cake, except for one other show I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I loved this, and everybody who hasn't seen it really does need to check it out. Go to Netflix and check out Danger Mouse, number 7.
Okay. Number 7 on my list is a great film that we both loved. 500 Days of Summer is a really quirky romantic film. It tells the story of the love affair that goes on for 500 days between Tom, who believes in true love, and Summer, who does not. And it goes through the highs and the lows of their relationship, and the fact that eventually Summer breaks up with Tom, which sends him into a spiraling depression. But at the end of it, he winds up leaving a job that he doesn't really like, and re-pursuing his dream of being an architect.
I'm thinking in my head, I don't remember any fourth wall breaks in this film, but yeah, I know where you're going now.
So he is at a place waiting for an interview, and there's a young woman sitting on another couch, and she's extraordinarily beautiful. And they start talking, and
they're there for the same interview. They're interviewing for the same job.
Yes, and he gets called in. And as he's walking, the narrator, who has been kind of in and out of the film, is talking about now how Tom was certain there was no such thing as fate, there was no such thing as destiny, and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, he's like, can you hold on? And the narrator says he's kind of sure. So Tom goes back and talks to the woman for a minute and, asks her, after the interviews are done, would she like to go get some coffee? And at first she's kind of like, well, I'm waiting for somebody. And he's like, oh, okay, But then she's like, no, wait, I'll wait around. They can wait, or I can, I'll see them another time, or whatever it was. And he introduces himself, and he says his name is Tom. And she says her name is Autumn. And Tom looks at her and looks right up into the camera, looks us all right in the eyes, like, huh.
Really?
And the little counter that has been going on throughout the film, counting the number of days and going back and forth between different days.
Because it's a completely non-linear film. Mm-hmm. You have to see it to understand it, yeah.
Resets itself to 1. The look on Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face, it's not like a here we go again kind of a look. It's like, wow. I love it.
I totally forgot about that too, and we just saw it, 2 weeks ago?
I'm like, damn. Loved that scene. Loved it. Loved that movie. If you've never seen 500 Days of Summer, you definitely should see it. So, my number 7, fourth wall break from 500 Days of Summer, The End.
Gotta be honest, it's the only film I can stand Zooey Deschanel in. I just don't really care for her, but she's really good in that film.
She is.
And it also was our discovery point for Chloe Grace Moritz, who plays Joseph's younger sister.
Yeah.
My number 6 is one of my all-time favorite movies, and it's one of those things where it just kind of happens. You have the action going on throughout the film, and then suddenly somebody, one particular character, but one other character at one time in the movie, will suddenly turn to the camera and say something about what's going on or deliver a line about advice. The movie is 1995's movie, soon to be a Broadway musical, Empire Records. The cast was just one of the biggest and best casts of all time, and a lot of them have gone on to bigger and better stuff. But throughout the film, Roy Cochran's character, Lucas, frequently turns to the camera and starts talking about, it's where they always play with their minds comes from. But we do get one instance of it from Mark, the character played by Ethan Embry then. He's Ethan Randall now. And he's coming down the staircase from the second floor of the store, ranting on and on about today is Rex Manning Day. This is always celebrated by the fans of the movie. Ask my friend Anthony Lamberti, who loves this film and always sends out Rex Manning Day reminders. Thank you, Anthony. This scene, there's a meme of this scene of Ethan, who looks like he is totally stoned, because Mark is a stoner. And
he looks totally stoned through the whole movie.
He does. Although they imply that it's a sugar rush more than a pot rush, but I mean, it is hilariously funny. And the movie itself, if you've ever worked in retail and you've never seen this film, you owe it to yourself, because you will recognize yourself in every single character in the film.
Or someone you worked with.
I was actually working at a record store when this film came out, and it was introduced to us by one of the college kids who worked there, and within a week, we'd all passed around the VHS tape of the film. And we were all on board with this film. Number 6, Empire Records, Lucas and Mark once, both breaking directly and talking with sage advice and an announcement about Rex Manning Day directly to the camera.
Okay. My number 6, fourth wall break, it's a small one. It's a very small one. But it sticks with you, because the person doing it is so good at scaring the piss out of you. My number 6 is from the 2009 version of My Bloody Valentine, My Bloody Valentine 3D.
You sense a pattern here, people? Go ahead.
Woman needs, don't judge.
Interesting how you're picking stuff with Jensen and not Jared. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Jared doesn't do a lot of looking right into the camera stuff, because it would melt the camera. Because
he wouldn't be able to keep a straight face.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Jared. My Bloody Valentine 3D is a remake with a few differences of the seminal slasher film My Bloody Valentine. I won't go into the whole story of it. The end of the film finds out that the character Tom actually turns out to be the killer. Gasp. And Tom is also batshit insane. During the end of the film, there's a cave-in in the mine. He is nearly rescued by someone, by a person in the rescue crew, but he winds up attacking them and killing them. We see people leaving the mine. We see people the person that was injured being carried out, and the cops are swarming over the place and rescue people and all that stuff like that. And we see this one person that's in one of those yellow, rescue things that have the mouth guard, with the mask and the goggles and all that, the hard hat and all that stuff. And they walk out of the mine, they're walking up the road away from the mine, and the person, when they're far enough away and can't be seen by the other people, they take off the hard hat and the mask and all that, and it's Tom, who has been wounded pretty badly, and he looks directly into the camera. And it's this stare that is so chilling. It is cold. It is completely... You are looking into the eyes of somebody who is completely and utterly insane. And my best friend's going, and you'd still nail him, wouldn't you? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Dying to get laid. That's me. But I'm ching.
Family show.
All right. So that's my number 6, fourth wall break. Because like I said, it is very small, but man, it sticks with you. Because it's just, you just have this, he's looking right at me, and I don't really like that. It's very disturbing and scary, and I want my mom. So my number 6, My Bloody Valentine, the end.
I just made a prediction about your number 1 film. We'll see if it's going to be right or not.
Okay.
Number 5, I really don't need to say much about, so I won't. It's a very obvious... it's very obvious because both the original, which is number 5 on my list, and the present sequel in theaters now is 90% fourth wall. Deadpool from 2016 with Ryan Reynolds as the merc with the mouth, Wade Wilson. He's not the only character that breaks either. He talks to the camera. Colossus does a lot of talking to the audience, sort of on the side in the first one at least.
You think so?
I do. Well, who else is he talking to? There's nobody else around. He's got to be talking to somebody. But, the whole premise of this, and the comic book as well.
Yes.
Deadpool regularly comments on goings-on in his comic book and in the new movies to the audience and telling them exactly what he feels. I mean, and he also, of course, the first one had that ending where he came out in the bathrobe and his mask talking about the second movie with Cable. It worked so well in the first film, a little less well in the second film because there was too much of it. But the first film is just so fall down funny from beginning to end. It's also got some of the best action around and a lot of violence. And Ryan Reynolds and his character's wry commentary on his life, the lives of the people he knows, the lives of the people around him, and particularly. I love his asides to the camera when he's with the cab driver. They're just a riot. Everything that makes that movie special has to do with the fourth wall. Not so much the new one, which has the same fourth wall breaks, but I don't want to give away too much. It's still out there, and you can go see it. Number 4, the original film, 2016's Deadpool.
Okay. My number 5 film that kind of kicks the crap out of the fourth wall is a very recent film. Because I was just kind of like, well, that's a different way to do the whole fourth wall, fourth wall attack sort of deal. My number 5 is I, Tonya. I, Tonya is the story of...
there's no fourth wall in that movie either. Oh, my Lord.
the story of disgraced Olympiad and figure skater and current Dancing with the Stars contestant Tonya Harding.
Oh, actually, I don't know who won. I didn't check to see if she won or not.
I don't know.
Finals
were
Tuesday, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. There are several moments where Tonya is talking... She's talking to a film crew about her life and the things that have happened to her. But she's also talking to us directly as the audience. That becomes extremely apparent during one specific scene where she is dealing with the man in her life, a gentleman named Ted Galooly. I'm sorry, Jeff Galooly, I'm sorry. Yeah. Tonya and Jeff's relationship was toxic. I don't think that's being unreasonable or unkind.
Just for the quicker side.
Yeah.
Adam Rippon won. Okay.
Oh, okay. I have no idea who that is, but whatever.
The figure skater.
Oh, okay.
The male one.
All right. During a particularly violent domestic altercation, of which there are many, Tonya grabs a gun and proceeds to shoot at Jeff. She doesn't hit him, but she does fatally wound a cabinet. After she fires at him, she looks at the camera and says, "That never happened." Redoing the gun. I don't know what you call that. Reloading, I guess, or
recocking.
Recocking. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just kind of an, okay, you say it didn't happen right after we saw you do it? And you're
he said he did. He said whatever he threw back at her. He also said that never happened.
That never happened. Yeah.
And he's played by
Sebastian Stan.
She's played by Margot Robbie. If you've not seen it.
Yes. It is one of those moments where it's like, it's kind of one of those, who are we supposed to believe? You are our own eyes kind of moments, it's hilariously funny and shocking. It's quite shocking. My number 5, I, Tonya.
If you haven't seen that yet, it's a riot. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kim was sitting there laughing in sort of a nervous, I shouldn't be watching this way.
It wasn't I shouldn't be watching, it was I shouldn't be laughing. It's like,
true. I was in hysterics at so much of that movie. My number 4, again, this is a show. Mm-hmm. Like Danger Mouse. There's so much stuff out there that you can point to certain things in it. Usually one particular segment with the two people involved. And there would always be some sort of remark followed by an acknowledgement of the camera by the star. Number 4, the Benny Hill Show. Benny Hill and, I've forgotten his name. Who? The tall gentleman that used to do the interview stuff with him.
Henry
McGee. Henry McGee and Benny Hill would stand there, and McGee would pretend to be interviewing the character that Hill was playing, whether it was Fred Scuttle, his best-known character, or somebody else. Every time this happened, at some point, McGee would ask a question that would seem so incredulous, even for a British journalist at the time. We're talking the mid-70s usually here. That Hill would look at it and sometimes start to crack up, then slyly glance over to the camera and smile, and then glance back to Henry and answer the question like he was supposed to, and never failed to completely convulse me. I realize that Benny Hill is so not #MeToo material. But he was damn funny for his time, and we lost him at just 62 in 1992, I think it was. And he was a funny guy, bawdy as hell, but the stuff that he did was always... I mean, even in the film segment, they found a way to break the fourth wall. I remember Woodstick, his character looking, which is a parody of Woodstock at an old folks' home, looking at the camera directly 3 or 4 times. He was a master at this, and so was damn near everybody that worked with him.
That's true.
The Benny Hill Show, number 4.
That's
pretty much all
choice.
of it.
Number 4 for me is a TV series that was the definition of the phrase "too hip for the room." People just didn't get it. I'd like to think if they tried it now this way, it would work. Unfortunately, they couldn't use the person that starred in it because he's no longer with us. Okay. But I thought he was an amazing choice. I hadn't read very much at all about the character when I saw the TV show. I read about the character later on in books and short stories and such. My number 4 is the TV series Ellery Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Starring
Jim Hutton
the late Jim Hutton as Ellery Queen, a mystery writer who always seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time or he's showing up afterwards, which happened too because his dad was the chief of police. Chief Inspector, yeah. So, now the first time I ever watched an Ellery Queen, it seemed like your typical murder mystery show. You have the suspects, you have the victim, you have, all the things that are going on and red herrings and whatnot and what have you. Now, almost at the end of the show...
Who was running that? Was it MeTV?
When?
When it was on. We were watching it every Sunday night at 6, and I can't remember what it was.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when I first saw it.
When it was way back. Okay, sorry.
When I first saw it, it was in repeats.
Right.
It was running on one of our local New England... I think it was Channel 68 ran it. And I just happened to stumble on it one day, and I was like, oh, this looks neat. I've never seen it before. I'll watch it. So I'm watching it, and like I said, it's your typical mystery show, and everything's unfolding, and you're just kind of like, all right. So we get to and we're at this point where Ellery's alone in a room, and all of a sudden he's like, looks right at the camera. Well, I know who did it. Do you know who did it? And he starts talking about all this stuff and people's motives and blah, 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 and where they were. And I'm like, I really hope this is happening.
He did in a couple of other episodes address the audience before the very end, but not very often.
I was sitting there watching it going, oh man, oh God, I wish somebody else was home so I could make sure they see this too. But that was the show.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of that you were solving the mystery along with him. And then you have this big denouement at the end where all the suspects would get gathered together and it would, you know, be revealed who the murderer was and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of the Ellery Queen short stories, they also have a part at the end where, like, you know, solve it with Ellery and that kind of a thing. They had small radio pieces.
We ran
as well.
Actually, we ran a number of episodes of the Ellery Queen murder mysteries on Subject Cinema over the years. I have the whole collection.
I loved that show. I loved it.
The show was great,
and it was way too hip for the room. But it doesn't break the fourth wall. It very politely opens the door and say, "Hey, come here, come be part of this world for a minute." And it's exceedingly cool. My number 4, Ellery Queen.
I can't believe I didn't think of that because we
my
both
God,
love
you're
that show.
kidding.
No, I
Okay.
totally
All
forgot
right.
about it.
All right.
It's a great show. And Jim Hutton and David Wayne were terrific
They
together.
were.
And it was the first show I saw John Hillerman on, too, and I became a huge fan of his. It's out there on DVD, and it's pretty cheap, so if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. My number 3 is the biggest, well, number 2 is kind of a cheat because it's both TV and movies, but so number 3 is my biggest TV show, and although they have quite a few characters on the show, and then quite a few different ways of breaking the fourth wall. The one that was most common was a simple setup. Joke, punchline, double entendre, take of the oldest brother. Mwah! Good night, everybody! The Animaniacs from Animaniacs. This show was known for its fourth wall breaks, and I hope to God they do a better job with the remake of this, the new episodes coming in next year, that they've done with the Powerpuff Girls and a couple of other shows that have absolutely sucked.
No kidding.
I adore this show. It is quite possibly the best animated series in history, and it's so funny. I mean, every time, practically every single episode that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are featured in, there is some sort of fourth wall break. Whether it's Dot turning to the camera and saying, "I'm cute," or Wacko doing the whole, "I never get to get it," or one of his, it's very much a self-aware show.
Yes.
From beginning to end. And it includes most of the other characters. Obviously Chicken Boo, because Chicken Boo wouldn't be able to do what he does without people knowing this is a total farce. Slappy Squirrel and Skippy
Yes.
are, very aware that this is a cartoon. Not so much Pinky and the Brain that much, and definitely not Katie Kaboom or Minerva Mink or Mindy and Buttons. Rita and Runt did occasionally, but there's.
I disagree about Mindy and Buttons, because sometimes Buttons would look at the camera like, I really need to find a new family to live with. That's true.
That's true. But I mean, there were so many fourth wall breaks. I would love to see one of those 1, 2, 3 those count things like we saw. How many times does bye 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 get said and bye bye bye? One of those. How many fourth wall breaks were there in just one season of Animaniacs? It would probably total somewhere around 500 to 600. It's scary, and it was so well done, and always funny as hell. And of course, the self-awareness also went out to parodies like Baloney and Friends and Karaoke Dokie, which features caricatures of William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. It's just a riot. Animaniacs, number 3. Okay. Most of those shows.
Number 3 on my list is kind of a weird one, but is kind of a weird guy. So, and he actually did this whole fourth wall thing in a lot of his films. William Castle, one of the most prolific schlockmeisters of his day, who also he was also involved in some rather serious films.
He was a producer on a lot of films, including Rosemary's Baby and a lot of other stuff later that people don't really remember him being part of because of his earlier 50s stuff. Yeah.
He was the king of the gimmicks. He had all kinds of gimmicks in his movies. One film that I recently watched had a really interesting gimmick. It was a film called Mr. Sardonicus.
Aired a few weeks ago on
Svengoolie.
Svengoolie.
Yep.
I almost said Dr. Demento. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I guess. I won't go into the whole story of Mr. Sardonicus, but there's a little bit at the beginning where William Castle speaks directly to the audience. And there's a little bit almost towards the directly at the end. Now, most of the stuff, actually all of the stuff in the film that you have seen is what he's talking about at the end of the film. You, the audience, allegedly, get to decide what happens to the main character. Whether or not he should be redeemed or punished for his actions in the film. To this end, Castle introduced something called the punishment poll. Settle down, it's not that kind of a movie. There were cards that were given to audience members that glowed in the dark. And one side of the card was a thumbs up and the other side was a thumbs down. And if you wanted to show the main character mercy, you held up the thumbs up, and if you didn't, you held the thumbs down. Now, what makes this fourth wall so entertaining and so incredibly goofy is the fact that now Castle himself is talking during this part. And he's making it very obvious that you should vote that the character be punished. Because when he's talking about all the terrible things his character's done, and, you know, he doesn't deserve mercy and all that, but when he starts talking about, but if you're one of these namby-pamby, wouldn't hurt a fly type of people, making it very obvious that if you're, you know, the type of person that wouldn't, you know, step on an ant, you know, that he's basically saying if you're a pussy, you know, vote for mercy. He then proceeds to count, like, he's literally standing there writing on a piece of paper and saying, you know, would the person in the 6th row hold up your card higher, and would the little boy in the back not stand on the seat so people can see, and all this stuff like that. And it's just so funny, because you know this was happening night after night after night with the same reel. But there's just something so gleeful about it, and I absolutely adored it. The thing that I find really interesting was Castle himself said there were two endings. There was an ending where the character is treated mercifully, and then there's the ending that I saw, which was not. Yeah. And actually was pretty nasty. As I said, Castle said there were two endings. Nobody seems to be able to find the merciful ending. Castle always claimed, well, that's because the audience always voted for him to be punished. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, this is kind of reminding me of the whole, you know, the two endings of Godzilla versus King Kong that supposedly exist that don't. Mm-hmm. But it's a fun little movie on its own. And William Castle's gleeful kind of exhorting you to pick punishment is just hilarious. So my number 3, Mr. Sardonicus.
My number 2 is similar to the Mel Brooks movies thing back at number 8.
Okay.
The particular people involved with this had a penchant for breaking the fourth wall, whether it was on the TV show that they had for several years, or in the many feature films they have done since then, or in the several live concert films they have done. It becomes almost impossible, especially in the concert films, to not break the fourth wall when the audience is sitting there yelling the lines at you. Monty Python's Flying Circus is quite possibly one of the funniest. It really, I mean, there are parts of it that I'm absolutely flummoxed by, even to this day. But they're so self-aware. Mm-hmm. All the way from the very first episode to the last, throughout all the movies. I haven't seen any of them all the way through. But Holy Grail in particular, has a lot of just the whole clippity-clopping of the coconut shells because they couldn't afford horses and so on and so forth. And they are all so damn good at it, particularly John Cleese and Eric Idle, that it is... and Michael Palin to some extent too, are just so damn good at it that it becomes almost part of their shtick, and if you don't get it, you're surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so well done, and they try to make you think it's not planned, but you know it had to be written in there. We're going to look at the camera.
Yeah.
Because they planned everything so meticulously, especially in the series, that it was like, okay, this is insane. I can't think of any specific thing that truly cracks me up about it, because everything cracks me up. You look at it, and it extended to some of their other projects. Mm-hmm. John's Faulty Towers has several of those. The movie All You Need Is Cash with Eric Idle and the Ruddles. Mm-hmm. There was some of that in there too. Practically everything they did, anytime, had something to do with an unexpected or expected moment where they would look into the camera or acknowledge the camera was there, even if they didn't see it.
Yeah.
And just, it would always leave me on the floor.
Okay.
Number 2, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Practically everything they've ever done.
Okay. Number 2 on my list is a really unique take on the fourth wall, just completely vanishing. My number 2 is a play. It's called Sheer Madness. This play has been running in Boston for decades for a reason. It's hilarious. Sheer Madness tells the story of a hair salon and the murder of the person who lives above it. Now, we don't see the murder, we just know about what happened before and after the murder. Now, up until that point, it's done like a regular play. The whole, everybody does things on stage, they don't acknowledge the audience, and it's just your typical play. Once the police show up, and the policeman character actually acknowledges there's an audience out there, everybody on stage suddenly looks up, looks out, and realizes, oh, hey, here we are, which usually brings about a whole lot of screaming from the audience, from the cast, I should say. And then you have an interactive murder mystery, which is screamingly funny. Because you have characters saying, well, I did this, this, and this, and I acted so and so and so, and you have people in the audience going, no, they didn't. And then the police officer will be like, well, what do you mean? Well, and you're an audience member, and you're like, well, they did blah, blah, blah. It is so funny. You literally kind of see that invisible curtain drop away between the audience and the players. Mm-hmm. And as I've seen this show numerous times, it is so funny.
And topical. They
and
change
very
it up
topical.
to keep it topical sometimes.
Although I'm pretty sure they probably still get New Kids on the Block jokes.
Well, they're still topical, aren't they? They're still out there.
Yeah.
Donnie's on TV every week.
Yeah.
So,
So my number 2, Sheer Madness.
We haven't seen that in 20 years.
Oh,
we
I know.
need to go again.
I know.
We took my mom to see that when she came up and visited us, and she thought it was a riot.
It was one of the funniest. I'm sure it plays in other towns as well, and other towns probably put their own
they probably do.
Local stamp on it. I just love the Boston show because it is killingly funny.
Yeah, it is.
That's my number 2.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's great. That really is. Okay, my number 1. This is the only thing I have done a specific scene for, and it's possibly because I laughed so hard when I saw this. When we saw it, I had seen parts of it when I was younger, and I didn't get it. When I got older and we saw the film, I was on the floor, this one bit. And as Kim has told you several times, immediately we had to go to Newbury Comics and buy the DVD. Okay. In the movie Harold and Maude from 1971 with Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon, you know the story. Harold is this early 20-something, very morose guy he's got a family that's super rich. He's bored by it all, and he passes the time off by attending funerals and putting these elaborate fake suicides together.
Yeah. Harold is a young man obsessed with death. Maude is an old woman obsessed with life.
Yeah. And this is actually, Maude is not part of this.
No.
At one point in the film, trying to get his mind off of this stuff, Harold's rather flaky mother introduces him to a friend of a daughter of a friend. The daughter of a friend is an actress who calls herself Sunshine Door, played by the wonderful Ellen Geer. Now, of course, while all this is going on, Harold pulls off one of his fake suicides. So, anyway, one of the things he decides to do is try this. He has no patience for what his mother's pulling.
No.
And this woman is driving him crazy. And so he proceeds to commit seppuku.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what seppuku is, it is a Japanese, it's the way samurai would end their lives to avoid dishonor. It's self-disembowelment, with a sword usually, or a knife.
Right.
And it's extremely bloody and gross. Especially if you see the movie Harakiri, Death of a Samurai. God.
The remake. The remake is
oh, God.
So anyway, he goes through all this.
And it's very...
His mother's standing right there. Or is coming in.
She comes in later.
She comes in as it's happening.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, bravo, brava. And
the actress.
The actress, yeah. And she decides to show off she can do this too. And she goes through this histrionic,
achingly bad.
John Lovett's thespian-worthy version of the death of Juliet from Romeo and Juliet.
Tommy Wiseau wouldn't cast this
Oh,
woman.
my God. I don't know if I'd go that far or not. We've seen some of the people Tommy Wiseau casts.
Including Tommy Wiseau. Especially Tommy Wiseau.
His mother comes in during all this and sees this happen. And she's like, what is going on? And Harold's just standing there watching this performance. And with no warning, without moving at all, or maybe moving his head slightly, his eyes slowly come over and fix directly into the camera with this slight smirk on his face. It disappears after, 3 seconds? I was on the floor of the Brattle laughing so hard. I'm like, this is one of the most over-the-top things I've ever seen. And by far, I mean, all this other stuff is great, but when I can nail a scene like that down that has done that to me, it has to be my favorite.
Okay.
Fourth wall break. Harold and Maude, the suicide scene and the actress. You have to see it to understand it, and please do it with an audience because it will be a lot better.
My number one...
I get to predict this. I'm pretty sure I got it right. We'll see.
My number one fourth wall breaking moment. I couldn't pick just one. I couldn't. So I just went with the character. Deadpool.
Oh.
Just Deadpool. I mean, that's it.
Well, holy shit balls. That was completely blew my thing.
The first movie, any of his many comic book appearances, his appearances in cartoons. Deadpool takes as much C4 as possible and snuggles it up to the fourth wall and lights a match and runs like hell the other way. I mean, when you have the beginning of a film where you have the main character sitting above a highway, sitting on the guardrail, doodling a picture, grown man, like to bring up, in a red spandex outfit, and he turns and looks at the camera and goes, oh, hello, I know. Whose balls did I have to fondle to get this? You know, that all that stuff. You're just going, you just heard the fourth wall just go.
This is one of those cases where we always used to use the phrase, fourth wall, we don't need no stinking fourth wall.
Seriously. The thing about Deadpool that's so crazy is the fact that not only does he destroy the fourth wall, he knows that he's on one side of it and you're on the other side.
Yeah.
He is very much aware that he is a fictional character. Now, I bring this up because of a comic book series that was done called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I would love to say I made that up, but I didn't. it turns out it's not our Deadpool. It's complicated. The whole thing of it is that Deadpool has figured out that he is a fictional character. And because of all of the things that have happened to him in his life, all the bad things, this drives him even crazier. And he manages to murder every single superhero, and I think I haven't read these, so I think he kills every single superhero and every single supervillain in the Marvel universe. Then he manages to get into the Marvel movie, not the Marvel movie, the Marvel offices where the people draw the comics, and is planning on killing them, and then turns toward the person reading the book and says, and then I'm coming for you, or I'll deal with you later, or something to that effect. Knowing Deadpool is the way he is, I think that would be enough to make me run screaming into the night, but it's just that this character is completely and utterly out there, and the way that he shatters, shreds, destroys, blows up, kicks in, knocks off, however, comes in like a wrecking ball, however you want to put it,
Can we not mention Miley Cyrus songs?
Now you're picturing Deadpool naked on a wrecking ball, aren't you?
I'd much rather picture Deadpool doing Bob Ross paintings. That was funny. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Anyway.
My number one, fourth wall breaks, Deadpool.
Damn, you know what's
Just
missing?
Deadpool.
I can't believe it's missing from your list.
What?
The end of Psycho.
I don't really know if that's
He looks directly at the camera. It's a fourth wall break.
It's implied. I don't really, I thought about it, but I decided at the end I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So.
Recapping the top 10, my top 10. Mm-hmm. Number 10, The Producers, pretty much the whole movie, the 2005 version. Number 9, Cuffs, the central character is always coming into the camera. Number 8, Mel Brooks movies, all of them. Number 7, Danger Mouse, pretty much all of them. Number 6, Empire Records, Lucas and Mark's direct asides to the camera. Number 5, Deadpool, the first movie. Number 4, The Benny Hill Show, quite a bit of stuff. Number 3, Animaniacs, quite a bit of stuff. Number 2, Monty Python, quite a bit of stuff. And number 1, the seppuku scene from Harold and Maude, which never fails to completely convulse me.
Okay. My number 10 are Sonic the Hedgehog. You have one impatient hedgehog. Number 9, Diabolic, A Wink to the Audience. Number 8, Supernatural, the episode Fan Fiction. Number 7, 500 Days of Summer, Tom's look at the end of the film. Number 6, My Bloody Valentine, Tom's look at the end of the film. That's weird. I hadn't thought of that. Wow, that's trippy, man.
I'm looking at Tom at the end of both films.
Stop it! You are screwing with my head. That's not fair.
Anyway.
Number 5, I, Tonya. Number 4, Ellery Queen, helping Ellery solve the mystery. Number 2, Mr. Sardonicus, The Punishment Pole. Number 1, the entire play of Sheer Madness. Number 2, Sheer Madness. And number 1, Deadpool. Just Deadpool.
You know what we both forgot?
What?
The very last shot of Keeping Up Appearances.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's true. That's true. Very, very
true.
The
only time they ever break the fourth wall, Richard looking into the camera as he goes around to the other side and gets in the car and drives off. Yeah, that was funny. This was fun.
I'm glad you liked it.
It was
you may
difficult.
not like next week's.
I'm surprised that you didn't come up with. I mean, there's stuff on there that I forgot. I can't believe I forgot Diabolic. Mm-hmm. Totally forgot. But 500 Days of Summer. But I would have expected to see more than just Deadpool on your list. So
okay, well,
just because I know you.
Well, those are the ones I thought of when
all right,
I made the
don't
list.
be too harsh on me with
No,
this.
it's just I'm saying. Well, this list was fun and funny, and it got silly and stuff like that.
Now we're going to get gut wrenching again.
Now we're going to get to something. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It depends on how you take.
Once again,
the list
she
is.
gets to pick twice in a row because we had to, because of the stuff going on, I had to usurp one of the shows to do the Eurovision thing before Eurovision happened. I still haven't got my Kirkham report stuff up.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
So my list for next week that I challenge you and anybody who's listening who'd like to send in a list, the top 10 scenes that hit you right in the feels. And this can be from all media. This can be from...
Well, describe what you mean by hit you with the feels, because that could be anger, sadness...
Yes, it can.
So any emotion.
Any really powerful
emotion.
This
is going to be difficult.
Whether it's a scene that makes you laugh till you choke...
Are you sure we haven't done this already?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Whether it's a scene that makes you laugh till you choke, makes you, cry buckets... Whether it's something that made you so angry you literally saw red, or made you want to crawl up under the seat and cry for your mom.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be just from movies. It can be from TV shows or even books, if you prefer.
Right.
So top 10 scenes that hit you right in the feels.
Okay. I know we did something similar, but it'll be interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Now, before we go, I want to remind everybody that we have a bunch of other shows out there in addition to Front Row 5 and 10 and Subject Cinema on Saturdays. We also have our mini shows every week, 3-Minute Weekend on Friday and Tuesday, Digidex on Tuesdays. The Friday show giving you the rundown on all the latest theater films, and the Tuesday show on the DVDs and home video.
Yep.
We have Kim's shows, Platinum Rose's Garden, which is coming up on its season finale.
The show had
its season finale. You're coming up on your season finale. Your 8-hour long recap show.
Hush. As of right now, you can listen to my take on the last episode of season 13, Let the Good Times Roll. And coming up this weekend, I will be putting up my overview of season 13. So I hope you will come check that out at Platinum Rose's Garden. And you will also come and check out Ring Around the Rosie, which is my other solo show, which is me taking a look at wrestling. This week's is a little more serious than other shows, I think. When I recorded the show, the day I recorded it was the 19th anniversary of the tragic death of Owen Hart at the Over the Edge pay-per-view. So I thought I would take the time to talk about personal memories of Owen, and it's sad. I mean, I'll be honest, it is sad.
I haven't listened to it because I can't handle it. Owen was one of my favorite wrestlers.
I understand that, but I hope other people will give it a listen.
I have a show called Catastrophe Vortex, which is going to be back eventually, and I'm also talking about the idea of maybe rotating it about disaster movies with a show about real disasters, and we'll see if I can get something together. But the new next edition, I swear, will be up this coming Monday unless something happens. Also, we have a number of other shows out there. I have a new YouTube-only show that I'm doing devoted to music called The Kirkham Report, which I've done for my first episode, which has not appeared yet, although it was uploaded 2 weeks ago. It's stuck in Copyright Troll Orchard's little rotating thing that stops a whole bunch of people. Everybody else is okay with it. And so it's stuck there, but I will have weekly stuff up on Saturday that you can take a look at. And if I have to use background music without actually putting the music in, which is kind of stupid, but I will do it, and I'm going to get stuff up. Plus, we also have Cavebabble, the Eric and Valerie Lyon, usually on the weekends when they can do it, with movies, games, books, music. Cavebabble Eats Odd Things, and everyday life when they do their travelogue shows, which I adore.
Yep.
And that's at cavebabble.com. Aunt B and Pee-wee on Comic Grotto, which is currently on hiatus. They're getting ready for another season of stuff. And Aunt B's Nerd Grotto, our newest member of the PNRNetworks family, can be found on Aunt B's Nerd Grotto on YouTube. So look that up, ANT B Nerd Grotto, and you'll get right to it. Go subscribe, watch, and enjoy. Anthony is a funny guy. And watching him talk about comics, he's got one whole show about his pop collection and everything else. They're really, really good. And he's going to be posting on Tuesday, Tuesday or Wednesday and Saturday. Yep. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And if you are of a dramatic state of mind, you can come check us all out in Manhattan Hammerdown. How it actually happened.
As it happened.
It is a dramatic reading. It's a piece that TC
I don't know
wrote.
if I call it a dramatic reading. It's a dramatic presentation.
Yes, okay, that's
because
better.
it's done in the style of news reports and EAS videos.
It involves everybody who is part of our little PNRNetworks family.
Yep.
We all pitched in and helped. It is the story of what else was going on in New York the night something very large and very destructive rose out of New York Harbor 10 years ago.
It was a 10th anniversary Cloverfield tribute. It went up on Cloverfield's 10th anniversary. And we have another one planned for later this year. So if you would like to go check it out, go to its full website at manhattanhammerdown.com.
Yep.
Please take the time to write to us. We'd love to hear your ideas for lists to do on this show. And if we use a list you do, not only will you get credit, you'll get a prize. You can't beat that. Write us at front row at PNRNetworks or Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks, and we will, if we use your idea, you get a prize.
I think
and
that
you
sounds
get
great.
acknowledged on the list, too.
Yes.
And it'll challenge both of us because we won't know what we're getting until
you
we
tell
get there.
us, yeah.
Right. And also, guys, you love our shows. We know you love our shows. We know you listen to them. Please take the time to become a Patreon patron. $2 a month or more. It's really simple. Every little bit helps. And if you go over to patreon.com/PNRNetworks, that $2 or more that you're donating doesn't just cover this show, it covers the entire PNR Networks family. And it's desperately needed to help things keep growing and going forward.
Yep.
So please join us as a patron. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
So we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Front Row 5 and 10. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham.
And we hope we can count on you to come back next week and help us count up another list here on Front Row 5 and 10.
Count on it.
Bye!
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.